gentlemen.
You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us. Boy, that break turned awkward if we dove into the worst movies ever that that athletes were a part of. If you would have had, I mean, honestly, athletes with the biggest box office, nobody thinks Brett Favre because you don't think it's Something About Mary, which is number 2 all time. He's like, hey, I'm a pretty good actor too. Like, you know, these guys roll on and be like, I don't know, I was in a little bit of a movie called, I don't know, Something About Mary. You ever heard of it? Number 2.
I'm sure he bragged to all those women he sent the pictures to.
Yeah, or like to the people he stole money from,
or that
allegedly. Was it Mississippi?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job, Brett. Great guy. Hey, JJ, we got to get into the program here, all right? We got stuff to get to.
We got to get with the program.
Come on, man. Our program brought to you by
focused.
G2G Bars. We have them right there in the fridge. Try one for yourself. Costco Holiday Oil, Maverick Associated Foods. All in the refrigerated section. Give it a shot. Let's start off the hour here with the cut. Let's jump in right here.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And this portion of the show brought to you by Trajan Wealth. All your trusted local needs in retirement. Local fiduciaries. Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com. Let me see here, JJ. End of this segment, by the way, and we're going to be giving away some tickets to see RSL in the Vancouver Whitecaps. Remember, you know what? The missed opportunity here. The Vancouver Whitecaps, remember, are owned. I think one of the principal owners of the Whitecaps is Alex Kerfoot's dad.
Yes.
That's a weird. Isn't that a way?
Group.
See, Christian, our producer, just found that out too. We were like, at one point, we were talking about it, and he's like, yeah. Maybe that, I don't know if that's still the case, but I bet the Kerfoots are going to be in attendance over here.
Greg Kerfoot, Steve Luzo, Jeff Mallett, and Steve Nash.
Those are the owners?
That is the
ownership
group of investors that own the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Pretty cool. So our own Alex Kerfoot, his dad's team, Vancouver Whitecaps, going to town. We'll give those tickets away in just a minute. The College Football Playoff Committee apparently got off of a call today. We wondered about this, JJ, because one of the things that came up was, they're not going to have enough time, right? Mm-hmm. They're not going to have enough time, and they're not doing it. They're not making the move. The last thing we had heard about all this was that they were going to move right on, and they were not going to have we weren't going to see a seating situation change for this upcoming year, right? Now, I forget every time, but it's the 12-team playoff. This is the last year of the 12-team playoff coming up, right? And then the next year, correct. You're likely going to see a 14 or 16-team format. I think the more likely
starting
is
in 2026.
The 14 team is the more likely, but I think at some point we want to get to 16. But in the end, JJ, when you look at the setup here and you look at how the seating happened, it's kind of a mess the way you try to. Like, let's not overcomplicate things. Let's put the best teams in the college football playoff, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'm fine with that.
And seeding the system that they seeded to go through, I'm looking at this thing and I have the breakdown of what it would have looked like from last year. Oh, JJ's brought it up here too. Yep. So a 2024 simulation of how this game, or how these playoffs would have gone, because now the setup is this: you still have all of the auto bids for the Power 4 conferences plus a G5, your group of 5 champion.
Yes.
Okay, so 5 auto bids. Okay, that leaves room in the 12-team playoff setup, of course, for another 7 that will likely be your SEC,
a Big Ten SEC Invitational.
Yeah. And look, there's a reason why this is getting pushed through. It's because those big conferences. And there's a lot of money on the line. Let's not kid ourselves. We're talking TV dollars. We're talking TV ratings that turn into TV dollars. We're talking about shared revenue, by the way, with athletes that should be very, very interesting in the future how they treat this, right? And how they're going to treat, that national championship game or bonuses that come to these players, whatever it might be. These are big-time eyeballs on big-time football games, and that equals money. And last year, as you had the breakout, if you were to look at it and say, oh, okay, yeah, because last year's rankings gave us a Boise State team that was ranked 3rd, an Arizona State team that was ranked 4th, but neither of those teams anybody felt like were probably to that point, right? And that was
That's
the
not
beef that we
how
had.
they would be seated if it was done without the autos.
Right, and the college football playoff rankings from last year were, again, when we have to reseed them going into these play, it just feels weird, right? When you go into this thing. So the final rankings, you had Oregon 1, Georgia 2, Texas 3, Penn State 4. That's the way it would shake out with these new rankings, okay? Because as it was last year, it was Oregon 1, Georgia 2, and then it was Boise State 3. What? And then it was Arizona State 4. Now, you can make an argument that Arizona State and Penn State pretty similar in terms of like a resume, and they had the same record, obviously, going into the last part. But, Penn State is Penn State, right?
Right.
So now where do you put them? Well, it's wherever those rankings are, because if you look, Boise State was ranked 9th, and Arizona State was ranked 12th.
11th.
Oh, excuse me, 11th.
Yep. Clemson was 12th.
And then
If
no,
you
I'm
see
saying in the actual rankings, and then Clemson was 16.
Right.
So Clemson as a 16 team, the ACC team, they went to 12.
Right.
I mean, that's what the new format would be. They would go to 12.
Correct.
You'd have Arizona State go to 11.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have Boise State be at 9 because they SMU was ranked ahead of them. So SMU was number 10, and they stayed at 10. So it would be a straight ranking. So this is what it would look like this year. Number 1, Oregon, if we were to reseed them. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Texas. Number 4, Penn State. Number 5, Notre Dame. Number 6, Ohio State. Not that far off. They were number 8, right, in the rankings?
Right.
And you would have number 7, Tennessee. Number 8 would be Indiana. Number 9, Boise State, like I said. Number 10, SMU. Number 11, Arizona State. Number 12, Clemson. This is actually closer to what their actual rankings are, which is what makes sense.
And you know who wishes it would have been this case the most?
Who?
Oregon.
Oh, I know.
Who
Look.
did Oregon have to play at the bowl site in the quarterfinals? Ohio State.
Yeah, that's right.
In this scenario,
that's Indiana.
Even Ohio State at a 6 seed, they're on the other side of the bracket. It would have been an Oregon-Ohio State national championship
and look, I think,
game.
and Texas lost to Ohio State in the semifinals eventually, right?
Yes.
Isn't that right?
Correct.
But they would have been playing one another in this setup if Ohio State were to beat Arizona State. And look, who knows what Arizona State would have done with Ohio State? Maybe it would have been a better matchup. I mean, Ohio State,
the way Ohio
Texas
State was playing in the playoffs, I imagine they would have obliterated
Sure,
them.
why not? But Arizona State also took Texas to overtime, right?
No, remember the first half, though.
The first half was not close.
Right.
But you would have had a Penn State-Notre Dame matchup in the quarterfinals, which was also, wasn't that one of the, that was one of the semifinal games as well. Oregon and Indiana, that would turn out differently. You would have likely an Oregon team that would be in the semifinals versus having to be bounced in that first round by the number 8 seeded Ohio State, which we all laughed at when we saw the seeding anyway.
And Oregon would have much rather have played a Penn State-Notre Dame winner in the semifinals
right.
than the Ohio State quarterfinal matchup they got.
Look, here's the reality. The 5 auto bids getting seeded the way that they're probably more likely going to be seeded is actually the way that it should be. The unfortunate thing is you're going to have an SEC champion and an SEC champion and a Big Ten champion.
That's what happened last year,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, you're going to have a battle for the SEC and the SEC and the Big Ten for who the next teams are going to be. And I will just tell you, based off of last year, you're going to see Alabama getting in that scenario. Remember, they were 11th at the end of those rankings. They would likely be in. Even lowly Miami, maybe it gets a look at some of these.
If you add 2 more teams or possibly 4, then those teams definitely get in.
They get in. And so in the case of, like, let's say next year, when you have all these teams, you're going to have probably 5 teams from the ACC and probably 3 or 4 teams from the SEC.
You mean the Big Ten?
Big Ten. Mm-hmm. And then 4 or 5 teams, 3 or 4 teams from the SEC, depending on, and they could swap that every year, right? You could have those teams. You could have 9 teams from those conferences, and then the other 3 people who are like awkwardly invited to the dance.
Right.
And you know what? The way things are being played right now, they might not be totally wrong.
You know how that changes? The only way it changes is if the Big 12 starts to break down the door.
And they
need to get 2 teams in, and the 2 teams need to win.
And to do that, you got to get kind of top heavy. Right? The way you get top heavy in a conference like the Big 12.
It's definitely not right now.
And it's not. It is absolutely, unfortunately, it's good football, right? And it's good basketball. It's good. There's a lot of parity there. And what that really means, what the translation of that is that the conference is not nearly as strong at the top as these other teams are. Look, we all know that the SEC has dogs from about 6 or 7 teams down after that. We all know that the Big Ten has your teams like Purdue and Maryland and Rutgers and, the teams normally on a normal year, Indiana, right? Iowa. You look at those teams and you go, oh, yeah, they're not really going to be a threat. And most of the time they're not. But the top is heavy. The Big 12 needs to get a little bit more top heavy. It would be worth having kind of those 4 teams that are always bad at the bottom of your conference, but to have 2 or 3 that are very, very good all the time. You need to run together. I love that there was the unpredictability of the Big 12 last year. You know who doesn't love that? The Big 12. I guarantee that Brett Yormark was like, I would have loved to have seen a team that can just establish itself as a national power week in and week out, year in and year out, because that's a much easier way to be able to get your conference in that conversation, because it would have been so much better for the Big 12. The years that the Big 12 is going to get not just one team in, because as it was, they only had Arizona State in, and Arizona State only played one game and we're out, right?
It was an impressive game. They pushed Texas to the brink, but they didn't win it.
They did not win it.
You've got to start winning these games if you're the Big 12.
Yes.
You've got to start winning these games if you're the ACC. And if you're a group of 5, you want to talk about making some noise and capturing the hearts of the nation? Go pull off that upset in the playoff. Be that 12-1. It gets tougher, though, without this. Boise State had their opportunity as a 3 seed. That group of 5 is not going to get that 3 seed ever again. So now, how do you do that? You're going to be playing in Oregon you're going to be playing probably. Let me look at this. You're going to be playing a 5 seed. So that classic 5-12 upset we see in the NCAA tournament, you got to pull off one of those 5-12 upsets in the first round. Can you do that? Can you make that happen? Can you make that kind of noise? That's going to be the quest of the group of 5 winner.
Okay, here. Let me just go back real quickly though to 2023. What we would have gotten in 2023, real quick. So here's what you would have had. So it would have been Michigan, Washington. Those are your 2 champions from the Big Ten, and the
they
Pac-12
played for the title
at that point. The Texas was in the Big 12 still at that point, right? So they were the Big 12 champion, I guess, at number 3. They played that 3 seed. Alabama was the 4 seed as the SEC champion. So 1, 2, 3, 4 was kind of set because you had still the Big 10, Pac-12, Big 12, and the SEC. Now, you recall that Florida State was left out of that whole thing as an undefeated, right? Now, obviously, in a 12-team playoff or in a 14-team playoff, Florida State would be in that conversation. They would be the 5th-ranked team in that conversation. Georgia would be 6th. How much has that changed, by the way, that season? Because Georgia ended up beating Florida State in that Orange Bowl. What was it, 64 to?
Yeah, they blew them out.
It was like 64 to 7 or something like that. Ohio State would have been your 7 seed. Your 8 seed would have been Oregon. Your 9 seed would have been Missouri. Remember the Tigers had a really nice year. 10th seeded Penn State, 11th seeded, because we've already had the ACC represented in this one. All the only one we don't have is a group of 5 team. You ready for the group of 5 team?
Yes.
It's twofold fun, and here's why. Oklahoma gets booted because they were going to be the 12 seed. All right, boo-hoo. That would have been your second Big 12 team. They're out. And they get replaced by, goes all the way down to the bottom, the number 23 team in the country who was undefeated that year is a G5 team. Do you recall who it was?
Liberty.
You got it. Liberty would be your number 12 seeded team. I don't hate it. Now, people who are the old heads, and frankly, they have a point. Oklahoma getting bounced for Liberty, that's tough. But Oklahoma did lose two games last year. In 2023. If you go back and do this, I will tell you, it gets kind of fascinating, which means that in the future, JJ, it's going to be fascinating. Mm-hmm. And the best teams are going to be playing one another. That's what you're aiming for. And it can come across like the SEC and the Big Ten are taking over. Guess what? They have the best teams. Guess what? They have the best teams.
The only way to change that perception, if you're not in the Big Ten or the SEC, go beat those teams.
It's unfortunate.
And the entire country will be cheering for you. Go make it happen.
All right. We'll come back. We've got more to go. Stay here. NFL Blitz is next. 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
Former BYU coach Steve Cleveland.
I've not seen AJ play. As I watched that 90-minute practice, Wright is going to be the point guard on this team. But you probably have a difficult time telling AJ that he's not going to handle the ball. He was playing the point guard. He's not a selfish player. He's very selfless. He hits the open man. He's got such size and length. Watching him initially, I thought he looked a lot like Paul George, but he's even got a better body. It took Paul probably 2 years to get a body like AJ already has. So it's obvious that he's going to have an impact immediately. This team's going to be really good. Houston, Texas Tech, BYU, Arizona, Ohio State, those are going to be the same teams that are going to show up. I'm excited about it, man. I think it's going to be a really, really good year.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Kirry, Jeremiah Jensen. Yesterday, at the very end of our program, Jim Irsay, it was announced that he had passed away at the age of 65. After that, went home and I kind of did a deep dive in, and I saw a ton of his former players, including I saw a post from Peyton Manning, who said his heart was broken about the whole situation. And this is a guy who, say what you will about some of the misgivings in his personal life and some of the things that were very public about some of his addiction issues and things like that, JJ. This guy was the GM of that team that had, for me, when I was a kid growing up, the Colts were the biggest friggin' laughingstock forever.
Yeah, they were a joke.
And he didn't just bring a championship to that city because they won the title, obviously, with Peyton Manning against the Bears in that 2008 Super Bowl, I want to say. That being said, he brought probably the most important player in that time frame of the NFL that had ever played. I mean, Peyton Manning changed the game, man.
Yeah.
And the people he got thrown to. So you think about it and you go, you could make fun and just, I think part of me yesterday, I remember I sort of lamented the way we left it because it was like, yeah, he's a billionaire owner, but he also ran the team for a while. Not a lot of owners can say that, Jerry can kind of say it. And by the way, much to the chagrin of people who are around him, he runs the team and nobody likes it,
Right.
But there are very few owners who had when his dad was running the team and he was the GM, they made some pretty significant decisions, enough so that, and you can say what you will about what type of person he was, and maybe the people around him were the ones who were the geniuses, but that franchise changed under Jim Irsay, and there were a lot of weird things going on in that franchise as well, and especially with him, that brought a lot of negative attention to that team. But it's never good. But I just remember seeing Peyton Manning's thing about how, Peyton Manning would be able to tell you that guy had a lot going on, but he changed Peyton Manning's life, and vice versa. Peyton Manning changed the trajectory of that franchise.
To show you the impact he had, what is Indiana known for, or was known for?
The
Hoosiers, basketball.
Yeah.
Basketball
it's a
state,
basketball
right?
state.
Well, not really the case anymore.
No.
Where's the NFL Combine held?
You're right.
Indianapolis.
Yep.
They won a Super Bowl. They have turned a basketball town into football town.
Lucas Oil Stadium is the home of the Combine every year.
Right.
He
had a massive impact. Like you said, it's complicated. There's a lot of ups and downs, and his life was a roller coaster ride, and it was pretty wild. And you hear all kinds of crazy stories about him, and good and bad. But at the end of the day, he made that team better, a team that used to be a joke. And now they're taken seriously in the National Football League and led by one of the great players of all time, Peyton Manning.
Pretty wild. And just the more, I think I left yesterday thinking, maybe we didn't give enough importance to kind of what he had done there.
We just soaked in the news that he passed. We broke it during the NFL Blitz.
Yeah. Let me see here, JJ.
No, we broke it during Best and Worst because
it was
happened late.
It was the very end of the program. Yeah. I don't know what the things are that get your blood pumping a little bit more. I like in the offseason teams trying to make decisions right now that are going to affect what the rest of this thing looks like for them. But Ben Johnson and the Bears, I don't hate that franchise right now. I've never been a big Bears fan, but I'm pulling for, and I don't even like Caleb Williams. But there's part of me that goes, I want to see Ben Johnson do something with Caleb Williams and vice versa. I want to see Caleb Williams kind of do. I think that the Bears franchise not being good is not good for the NFL. The Browns not being good are almost part of the narrative. You know what I mean? But like the Bears have the best color combo, I think, of anyone in the entire league.
They have a storied history.
Amazing history.
Incredible players.
They play at Soldier freaking Field, and they won't, in the future. But I mean, like, there's a vibe, with this franchise, and I would love to see the Bears figure this thing out. And I would like to see Ben Johnson put something together as one of these young coaches in the league right now.
Yeah, it's a franchise that you could say quarterbacks go to die, right?
Now you can.
You had Jim McMahon in the 80s before he got hurt, who was playing really good football there, but I don't think they've ever had an all-pro quarterback.
Nope.
How is that possible?
It's Chicago, man. Like,
so
it
it truly is a place where quarterbacks go to die. They haven't had as many quarterbacks as the Cleveland Browns, but close. And so they now have Caleb Williams. They have a head coach who is considered one of the best offensive minds in the country, who helped the Detroit Lions turn things around from being a not very good franchise to one of the most respected offenses in the country in the NFL. We'll see what they can do. It's kind of fascinating to see if the Bears can change the narrative, and that's what Ben Johnson's going to try to do.
Next up on the Blitz here. If the offseason, look, I think there are some people that are huge for their team and their success going forward. One of the guys that fell off because of a bad injury, of a disgusting injury, and his team still kind of kept going, and I'm waiting to see what the next version of that is Lions defensive end Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
I think we forgot that guy was really freaking good. And on top of it, he's going to be coming back and he was just cleared today for a full return to the league. I love hearing news like that because those young guys who are awesome, like Aiden Hutchinson, you want to see that. And by the way, this is a guy who grew up in Michigan, played at Michigan, is playing in Detroit. The storylines that are right there, again, these are teams I don't typically like or cheer for or think much of, but Lions and Bears doing well and the NFC North performing well is just one of those things I think could be good. Aiden Hutchinson is one of these guys we totally forgot after he had his injury.
He's one of the best young pass rushers in the league. And, yeah, the gruesome leg break didn't derail the Lions' season. Their defense probably missed him a bit. I think they really missed him in that Commanders game. I think they were not able to put any pressure on Jaden Daniels, and Daniels was able to cook. And I think Aiden Hutchinson coming back will give them that edge rusher that they need to disrupt things a little bit more and make things a lot easier on that defense. So the Lions getting him back is going to be welcome, and the Lions are going to be a force again this year after going 15-2 last year. Quite a run for them, and obviously the year before that going on a deep run as well.
Who ends up having a better year next year? The New York Jets or the Chicago Bears?
Bears.
The Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson said that he wanted to, quote, "I'm hopeful that I'm a Jet for life and that we get this thing rolling for the best of our days, or so that the best of our days are just ahead of us here." And I thought to myself, oh, man, if we hit that guy with the truth serum, do you think he's being truthful about wanting to be a Jet for life?
Yeah, well, look, the Jets suck, and that franchise has been bad forever, but it is in the New York area.
It is.
Technically, it's in New Jersey, but it is a big, giant market, and when you win in New York, you win. You win big, and everybody there makes all of it big. It's bigger to win in New York than it is anywhere else in any professional sport. So I think fans there and people in general are waiting for the Jets to wake up. I think they're a sleeping giant. No pun intended with the team across town. But the Jets should be better. The Jets are in New York. They have a lot of advantages over other teams. The reason they've been so bad is poor management and ownership. But if they can turn things around, you can become a superstar in New York. I understand why Garrett Wilson would want to be there and try to figure it out, because if he does, the payoff is huge. Huge.
Did the Jets win a Super Bowl with or did they just win a...
They won a Super Bowl. Super Bowl III with Joe Namath.
With Joe Namath.
1969.
So 69 is when they won it. It's crazy to think that the Jets winning their Super Bowl was only 4 years before the last time the Knicks won their title.
Wow.
That's pretty dumb, right? Like, in our minds, the Jets have been awful
forever. Can you imagine
forever.
New Yorkers back in the late 60s and early 70s hearing what you just said?
I will tell you why. I will tell you why.
52 years?
I know. So you have the Jets, who haven't won since 1969. Okay. You have the Knicks, who haven't won since 1974 or 73. Which one was it you said? 73.
Knicks in 73.
So that's a 4-year difference. You're talking about 50-plus years. The way that they act. Now, those years that they won the AFL, I think before the merger, obviously.
Did they?
They did back in actually they won the AFL championship the same year that they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because the merger
Correct.
happened in 70.
Yep.
Remember this?
Yep.
So they won the AFL championship, but they also won the Super Bowl that very same year. And the whole thing was, well, the AFL is so inferior to the NFL, right? You're not going to beat Johnny Unitas. Yeah, that was the idea. So it's just crazy to me to think that.
Well, here, let me throw this out to you. The Yankees have not won a title since 2009. The Giants have not won a title since 2011. The Knicks haven't won since 73.
Oof.
The New York Brooklyn Nets haven't won since 76 in the ABA, not the NBA, but the ABA.
Yep.
If you want to count, the most recent title was the New York Liberty in the WNBA. But after that, it's been a long run. 2003 for the New Jersey Devils, 94 for the Rangers, 83 for the Islanders. Mets, 1986. There's been a lot of suffering in New York. Yeah. It's been a while since one of the four major sports brought a title to New York.
I think part of it is the last time that the Jets were even in the playoffs were in 2010. So they
have the longest drought in the four professional sports leagues.
Okay, we'll take a break here. We'll come back. We got more to go right around the corner. We're going to chat with Matthew one more time here. Talk about the amazingness that is the Soldier Hollow Sheepdog Championships and Festivals. Stay right here. More to go. We've got our best and worst next. 97.5 BKSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
That's the advantage to BYU, though. It's not just Provo, Utah. It's Salt Lake City. It's Las Vegas. It's
I'm
Southern
sure they
California.
have donors all over the country.
It's Burley, Idaho.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they went from we can't recruit anybody to we can recruit anybody. And you know what? You'll go live the honor code. If you're getting paid $5-6 million, Ben, I'll go live the honor code right now for that kind of dough.
Whatever AJ DeBonsa's making for 6 months. Okay. Yeah, I'll put a suit on.
It's crazy. They got plenty of money. And honestly, it's going to be a disadvantage for Utah.
It's going to be a disadvantage for everybody. If you aren't one of those schools and they don't regulate it to put a cap on how much you can spend, it's a setback for every other team. It will slay some giants.
Kook fans should be like, keep the Wild West. Call Mike Lee. Get him on the horn. Tell him, don't do anything.
Yeah, don't do it. What are you,
don't
crazy?
do anything. Yeah.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah, Jensen. JJ, hey, my Mariners are in first place. Don't look now.
Is that the worst?
Don't.
You know why I say that? They're going to break your heart again.
We're not even to June yet.
They're going to get you
how this goes.
all the way to late September, and then they're going to crush your soul.
Oh, don't worry. That's what's great about being a Mariners fan. All-Star break hits. I already know we have no chance. So it's great. We get it over early.
You're right. They have a 3.5-game lead over the Astros in the AL West.
Yeah, they play the Astros. I think they start up a 3-game series tonight. So there you go.
Ooh.
Yeah, down there in Houston. I think you went when we went down and covered the Houston.
Yeah, the
Jazz
Rockets
series.
Jazz series 2019.
Did you go to a Yankees? Did you go to the Yankees game?
I went to a Yankees Astros game.
Yeah, I went to Yankees Astros down there. Is there
Saw
more?
Verlander pitch.
Is there? Yes, it was that night. Verlander pitch. Is there a more insufferable crowd than Astros fans? The answer is yes. It's Yankees fans at an Astros game.
There were plenty.
Let's go Yankees!
The Yankees fans travel well because they don't have to travel because they're everywhere.
Yeah, they are everywhere. It's the worst, but that's the worst. No, best and worst brought to you by the good folks at the Doug Smith family of dealerships in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and in Linden. They have that brand new dealership in American Fork that's a Mitsubishi dealer. Nobody knows cars like Doug, so go check it out. So I did pick this one up as the best. And I wanted to say something. I dove into the story and then I thought a little bit about it. We've made fun of Texas football for a long time because they were always that team that just gets USC's in this vein, right? Where it's like
always going to be their year. This is the year they win it all.
They're blue blood,
and
so
it never
they
happens.
They get the benefit of having a massive fan base, huge donors, stadiums, and they just print money, and iconic logos and things like that. It all helps.
They're easy
right?
to hate.
Easy to hate. And the Texas Longhorns, now that Steve Sarkisian's the head coach there, I wanted to say, oh man, this is an interesting thing. So they're playing Ohio State first game of the year. They played Michigan first game of the year last year. They are going on the road to take on Ohio State. You remember they played a road game at Michigan to kick off their season last year.
Yeah, I love that they're not afraid. They played Alabama and upset them 3 years ago.
Right? At Alabama.
Yes.
So this will be the third in a row that they've had an insanely big game right at the beginning of the year. At Michigan last year, at Alabama the year before. They're going to the Horseshoe to take on the national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. And Ohio State called because, of course, they can't do anything but make it about them all the time. Ohio State calls Texas and says, hey, we don't like the kickoff time. Can we shift it from a noon Eastern kickoff on Fox? And Fox said, we're amenable to this, but Texas has to agree. And Texas and Steve Sarkisian said, nah, we good. We're coming to your place. The game is kicked off at noon Eastern. That's a 10 o'clock time here. That's an early game. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's an 11 o'clock body time for Texas, all right? They're going to your place. You get to dictate everything. But when you call up Texas and you go, we want to play a little bit later in the day, Texas goes, no thanks. And they moved right on. And you know what? Texas has won the last 11 true road games under Steve Sarkisian that they played.
Wow, that's a huge stat.
Pretty hard not to look at that and go, okay, what the Longhorns are doing is kind of big here. So the worst is that Ohio State called and said, we're Ohio State. We'd like to change the game time. The best is that Texas said, is it Ohio or Ohio State? I can't remember what you were. Anyway, we're still Texas. We're still not going to take any calls about what time to change the game. I don't care what Ohio State does. Texas will always be bigger than Ohio State. Doesn't it feel like that? Talk about
fans
teams.
of the Ohio State would disagree with you.
They're also very. I don't know. I don't think it's this big of a program. Sorry, Ohio State fans. All right.
Well, Ohio State's won more national titles than Texas at this point, right?
That's neither here nor there. Texas is on the 40 acres, man. It's big time. All right. We'll take the break here. We'll come back. More to go right around the corner. 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone.